Welcome to Mentoring Moments. Mentoring Moments is a sub-series of the E-Commerce Edge podcast. It is composed of clips taken from Jason's one-to-one and group mentorship sessions. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the E-Commerce Edge podcast with me, Jason Greenwood, your host. I have another incredible guest to welcome to you today. His name is Justin BAER from Callers & Co. Welcome, Justin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
My pleasure to have you along for the ride today. You're going to be one of our guest mentors today, and we're going to be talking about growing a brand from scratch. Basically, we're going to talk a little bit today about the journey of entrepreneurship. And you were on Shark Tank, and I think that's something that not many people can have that claim to fame, that you were on Shark Tank and that you started a successful menswear brand from scratch. And so tell us a little bit about how you came to be in this world, how you came to be an entrepreneur, how you decided to do this whole digital e-commerce thing, and how you came to be on Shark Tank.
Sure. Always been an entrepreneur ever since I'm a kid. Just always coming up with ideas. Grew up in a house where I was pushed and been okay with coming up with ideas. I always joke, like, at our house, we didn't get Sports Illustrated, we got the Wall Street Journal. It was very business minded. You get $100 birthday money, you don't spend it, you invest it in Toys R Us stock. People don't even know what Toys R Us is anymore. But yeah, there was something I was interested in. And I think that's really important for all my kids too, that I have. It's like finding their interest. This was just something that I was really interested in. And my parents backed me with it. Just took me to the patent and trademark office when I was a kid because I had this invention idea, and that kind of flourished ever since literally I was a little kid. And then in college, I had an idea that ended up raising, it was a consumer loyalty discount card. We put like a cause on it, raised over $2 million for Evelyn Lauder's Breast Cancer Research Foundation. It was like a combination between the entertainment book and all those loyalty cards where you got scanned. This is in the early 2000s. And then I came up with another idea in New York. It ended up being like an Eventbrite type of software product. And then, from that, I started a check-in application. So that kind of flourished from a check-in application. It was one of the first, when the iPad just came out. We used to go to an event. People don't realize it now, but they had Excel files printed out and stapled. And you'd have 3 tables, and it'd be like A to K, K to Z, your last name. And you'd go there, and they literally just take a highlighter and say, okay, Justin BAER, boop, and scratch your name out. And I was like, you know what? Basically, we created an app where you could take that list, upload it to the cloud, and then pull the list down on multiple iPads. They all talk to each other. So that was a decent hit, and ended up selling that company to a San Francisco firm. And then I was working for them. And at that time, I created another business, which was a text marketing platform for golf clubs. By the way, you're hearing all the ideas that have been working. There's a lot of ideas that didn't work. Ideas, but you have to throw a lot of mud at the wall here. But okay, so I had this software company for text marketing. It's called Membertext. And interesting how I started. I think it'd be useful. It's interesting how to pivot. That idea came from, and all of my business ideas have this pivot to them. So people out there, business owners or entrepreneurs, don't get too stuck in exactly where you think this is going to go potentially. For the Membertext idea, as an example, I was actually cold calling country clubs about another idea. And the idea was basically an online tutorial for how to fix your ball marks and etiquette at golf clubs. Because what was happening is, if you belong to a nice club, they would make you take an in-person etiquette course. I'm like, look, why are you guys doing this in person? Let's just film you doing it. And you can put it up online, let all the members take it and check mark. So yeah, that's great. Let's do that. So I did one for my club. And then I was cold calling, and I literally went A to Z on this list of top clubs. And so the first club was Arizona Country Club. And I called the membership marketing person. Hey, it's Justin. Hey, I've got this idea for an etiquette course. It's online. Blah, blah. And he said, that's a pretty good idea. And then I was like, you know what other problems are you having out there at the club besides this? And he says, you know what? We really can't get people to open their emails. I'm like, what do you mean? So yeah, we want to be able to maybe text them. I'm like, you want to be able to text the members? He's like, yeah, because everyone opens their text messages. No one reads their emails. I'm like, all right, give me 3 weeks.
Or
Called
go
them
away
back
and build
in 3
something.
weeks. Yeah, called them back in 3 weeks. I had this other license, this texting platform, blah blah blah. I called it Member Text. Called. I said, you know what? I created it. It's the main text marketing platform for golf clubs. He's like, great, we'll sign up. I'm like, great.
How easy was that?
I mean, I guess it sounds easy, but yes, it's that. Ask the market that you're going after, what do they want? Give the people what they want, right? Like, instead of shoving this idea down their throat, I think you really need this. If you talk to 10 people and they're like, I don't know, then just ask them, what other problems you guys having? What other challenges you guys having at the club or at your business or at home? And they'll just tell you, right? Everyone knows what problems they're having. So that's really it. I just got my created. And then next thing you know, we've got 500 clubs around the country paying a subscription model. We've made improvements to the product and it's gone through iterations, but that's how I started. And so you can see where my mind's going. Like, that one particular story is like all the other ones too. Like, I've got a good Google story. We can go back to that. But okay, so I'm doing this. COVID comes, still running Member Text. I was like, you know what? I'm itching about this idea that I've had. I'm telling my wife this about where I want to wear a sweater with a dress shirt underneath it, which I wore for 12 years in New York. It's like the Midtown uniform. Every guy wears it. But I didn't like the feeling of the dress shirt on my body when I only cared about the collar. And I found it annoying also, like the sleeves, when you're pulling a sweater, the sleeves get bunched up, pulling it
I
down.
know, and you got to try to pull it out and pull it down your sleeve, and
It
oh
doesn't feel
god,
good. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to create something that solves this issue. So I'm like, you know, I'm going to create a polo shirt with a really firm collar on it. So actually, I've got a version here, and not everyone, probably most people are listening to us, but basically, it's a polo shirt, stretchy, soft, but the collar's really firm, right? So this is things like
like a proper
it's
dress
proper
collar.
dress collar, yeah. And my wife's like, "Come on, not another idea." I'm like, you know what? This is like what I just do for fun. I'm like, it's like my hobby. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start something every year just for fun, see what happens. Learned everything I could about Shopify. Created my own website. Didn't look great. It was like me in the photos. My 7-year-old daughter's like taking pictures of me on the white wall. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Learning Canva, learning all that stuff. How to erase backgrounds. Really going in, and then my daughter, again, she was into dance, so she's like, Dad, you gotta do a TikTok video. I'm like, I'm not dancing, but she's like, just go in your closet. So she's holding up her phone, and I'm like, guys, don't you wear dress shirts? They suck, they're hot. Check out one of these dress collar polos. So that's what this is. It's a polo shirt with a firm collar on it. And I was like, this thing's awesome. Basically just a simple video. And then we sat down to watch Netflix that night, and obviously when you make a sale on Shopify, it goes like ka-ching.
Ding ding, yep.
And we were sitting there and the phone started buzzing. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? People just bought one of these crazy shirts. So that was the start. First month we did 40,000 in sales. Yeah,
From
it was
that, because
nuts.
of that one video.
No, that was the start of it. But obviously, as soon as that video, I'm like, I got to do a video every day. So I just came up with videos and really just talked about the problem. And at the time, text changed. Social media has changed even in the last 4 years, but it was very much a discovery app. And it still is. I think it's a discovery place more than even Instagram is now, where the best content wins and cool ideas get discovered there. And it's okay for people to watch random people solve problems or come up with an idea. So it really kicked us off. It started us off. And then we were like, okay, let's do patterns. How much can we keep pushing this thing? And then really from there, it turned into a full menswear brand. So we do knitwear, polos, obviously, but a ton of sweaters are basically give people the whole look, that quarter zip, that very aspirational high-end club vibe, country club vibe. And then we make pants. We've got an incredible blazer that's out as now, where you can smush it up into a ball and take it out, and there's no wrinkles, and it's great travel piece. Shoes, and basically learning everything I could about Meta and Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, Google. It's every day's learning experience. And we've tapped into something and we hit a market, and it's been a wild ride. So that is a long answer to your how did you get here? But there's some cool stories, about what I learned on the way. And it's a whole process, right? It's not just starting it 4 years ago. It's been 25 years of learning, of making all the mistakes and learning from those and kind of piecing it together for this one. But it's been good so far.
Wow, what a cool story. It does remind me a little bit of even in my consulting business, you say sometimes we have to pivot, sometimes we got to change our ideas, sometimes the market
Mhm.
will tell us what it wants, sometimes we have to ask the market what it wants. And it's really interesting because even in my consulting work, for the first couple of years, I was purely working with suppliers and sellers and merchants. And then I started to get inquiries from SIs, agencies, platform vendors, investors saying, hey, I know you work with this type of customer, but do you work with customers like us? Or can you help customers like us? And it's, I don't yet. If you're willing to be a bit of a guinea pig and you're willing to have patience with me to be able to put custom consulting frameworks together for businesses like yours, then hey, look, I'll give it a crack. And look, I've been in this industry for 25 years, so I have a pretty good understanding of kind of all the different aspects of the industry, and I've run and built agencies, so why not try to help SIs, and why not try to help platform vendors, which I've had to work with for many years anyway. And it was one of the best things I could have possibly done, but it was because the market came to me and said, hey, I know this is your ICP or who you normally work with, but can you help us? Because we need help too, and we need your expertise in our business. If I'd have been closed off to that idea, then when I look across my business today, in terms of my client mix, I have more non-merchant clients than I have merchant clients today. And if I would have been closed off to that idea, or if I'd have just said, no, that's not, I don't want to go down that track, or I don't want to do any more work than what I'm doing or whatever, then I would have completely closed myself off to that potential opportunity, which has turned into something far more than I could have ever possibly imagined in terms of success and in terms of actual fulfillment and enjoyment out of what I'm doing, because I
Yep.
was being challenged in new ways. I actually had to develop. I had to develop new skills, and I had to develop new collateral, and I had to develop new pricing, and I had to develop all these new things to go along with these adjacencies. It wasn't so much a hard pivot as it was adding adjacencies to what I was already doing. But to your point, you've got to be open to that, right? As opposed to having a fixed mindset that says, this is what I'm going to market with. And hey, if nobody wants it, I'm just going to keep knocking on doors until I find someone that does. And in your case, especially with the golf text service, the reality is if you had stayed fixed on what you thought
Yeah,
the market wanted, you'd have never been able to have the flexibility to adapt to what the market was ready to pay you for right then and there, right?
exactly. Yeah, back to the it actually has been like three pivots, and this what you're saying is 100% true. I was listening to one of the big VCs, and a lot of their incubators that they fund out in San Francisco, they know that business isn't going to be what they're investing in. They're really investing in that entrepreneur team, and they know it's going to pivot and turn into something else. So this is, if you're scared that you may change your mind or this thing might, whatever idea is out there that you're thinking about, it's going to move. But I'll give you another example. So the reason why the event ticket, if I had like an Eventbrite product, which is a online ticketing service, that started from a calendar of nonprofit events. That was the original idea. I did said, you know what? I'm in New York. A lot of young people are going to these charity events for young professionals. It's like open bar. It's $40. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather give $40 to a charity. It's open bar anyway than go in a bar and give them $20. So I'm like, how do we find the list of who's throwing these events every weekend? There isn't one. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make one. So I created this official master calendar of nonprofit events. Anyway, from that, I was doing like some newsletters, wasn't really making any money, but was in touch with a lot of these charities. So I'm like, you know what? I'm in touch with a lot of these charity events. Let me create an event ticketing platform and make a VIG off each ticket. So we started doing that. And then Eventbrite had an iPad check-in, but it was just for Eventbrite events. So I'm like, people are asking us for that. But instead of making it just for our ticketed events, I'm going to make it for anybody with an Excel file. That was what was new. So I had this company in India started working on this idea and creating this app for me. And I was dragging my feet with it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, honestly. And then I got a call back, or I got a call randomly from a guy was the big event planner in New York City, one of them. And he just calls me up randomly. And this is important of building relationships, is staying in touch with people because you don't know what the heck's going to happen down the road. He calls me up and he says, do you know anybody doing iPad check-in? I've got a client that needs it. I'm like, I'm working on it. I don't know when it's going to be ready, maybe 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. I said, who's the client? He said, it's Google's holiday party. They're renting out the
Wow.
entire New York City Public Library. I said, I'll have it ready. I said, I've got it. Hung up the phone, told these guys, I'm like, you got to get this thing done. And the event planner's like, great, if you can do it, great. It was the first event we ever did. I only owned one iPad. They wanted 11, all working at the same time, outdoors in Wi-Fi. They hired volunteers. They wanted like the boarding pass feature where they could print it out at their desk and scan it. So it comes in. I remember I had these volunteers. I said, look, you're going to hold the iPad over their ticket and you're going to go beep. I don't care if the thing beeps or doesn't beep. You just say, hey, thanks so much for coming, and take their
Exactly.
ticket. I hired like a videographer to come that night, and it like, that was it. So then the whole business, I'm like, forget the charity calendar, forget everything else. It's about check-in easy, the app, and that's what did it. So there's 3 pivots there, from this master calendar, the ticketing, and kind of being that flexibility to pivot and see where the heck this thing goes.
I love it. And how did Shark Tank come into play for Colors and Co? You'd been an entrepreneur. You obviously had a little bit of money to your name, otherwise you wouldn't even have thought about launching this new thing. You were already running a couple of successful businesses by this stage. You were a serial entrepreneur. What made you go, oh, if I really want to do this thing big, hey, look, let's see if I can get the Sharks to go in on this with me?
I think it was when you have a product like this where it's like I don't call it a gimmicky product, but it has like a feature, then people are like, oh, you got to go on Shark Tank for this. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting on Shark Tank. That's ridiculous. You got to know somebody to probably get on the show. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see what I can find. If I know like a producer, get connected like through Sony Pictures or somebody. I knew nobody. It didn't go anywhere. And then a few weeks went by and put the kids to bed. It was like 11:30. I was like, you know what the heck do I have to lose? I'll just go to abc.com,
Fill out
like
the
every
application.
other out there, and submit along with 40,000 other people, and we'll see what happens. And I remember I put in like short answers. I'm like, nobody's going to do this. And they call back. It's funny. They call back. You think, oh, you're on the show, that, and you're excited, and they make it seem exciting, but that's really like one of 10 interviews you do to get on the show. And there's rounds, and they could cut you at any time. And then actually you can film the show and then get a deal, and then they still don't air it. So I think only
Wow.
50% of my day shot the show and aired, which that's like the biggest kick in the pants ever, is like spending all year and doing all the paperwork and getting excited and memorizing your pitch, and then they don't air it. But they aired us, and then 6 months later they did an update on us too. So it was pretty wild. And Shark Tank's for real. It's scary as heck in there. There's one take, screw it up, that's
That's
it.
it.
Actually, if you screw it up, they probably want to air it even more because you look like an
Yeah.
idiot. They like that.
Because anything that's embarrassing or dramatic, they want to air, right?
Yeah, that's the thing too, right? Is you're recording for over an hour and they're cutting it down to 8 minutes, so they're going to make you look how they want and make it look a little more dramatic. Like when I rewatched, I'm like, I don't think it was that in real life. I don't know if it was that intense, but
That dramatic.
they made it seem pretty intense in the show, and that's what it's about, right? It's a show 1, 2, and 3. Like you're just a pawn in their game, but we got to deal with Mark Cuban and Peter Jones, was the guest shark there. He's on the UK version of Shark Tank, and those guys have been really cool and great. We ended up closing the deal. That's another thing. Just because you get the deal doesn't mean it closes. I think only 30% close or something like that. But
Oh, is that right? Because I
yeah,
know
we
that they
closed
say in
everything.
the small print down at the bottom, it says there's no requirement. First, there's this long disclaimer down at the bottom of the screen or something like that at the beginning or whatever, when they roll the credits or whatever,
Yeah.
that basically gives them an out, essentially.
Yeah, because probably half the entrepreneurs are lying on there. So
Yeah.
the sharks want to make sure they'll do their own due diligence.
Separate to the show's due diligence. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the show did their due diligence, but the sharks, before they put their real money in it, are going to do their own. But yeah, no, ours closed, and those guys have been great and helpful. I try and keep my asks to a minimum. They always want to know is Mark involved. He's very accessible, which is nuts. You can text him and he'll text you back, and in just a few minutes. I don't know. The guy's on his phone all the time. But yeah, it's been cool. It's a wild ride.
Wow. And how old were you in market? Did you already have your D2C online store? Did you already have that up and running, and were you already transacting and had real customer traction and product market fit before you went on Shark Tank?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think they want to see that. You know what? Not every business on Shark Tank does. I take that back. But yeah, we did. We were already proven out model. We didn't have that many SKUs, but I think we had this concept down of looking sharp, being comfortable, and they like Collars and Co. and it worked.
I love it. I love it. And then did any of them ask you about, because you're a D2C brand, you make the product, you sell it direct to consumer.
Mm.
Did they ever ask you about strategic wholesale expansion? Because if we've learned anything through COVID, and if we've learned anything through the D2C boom and bust cycle and Allbirds nearly going out of business and their share price falling almost 99% since IPO and everything else, is that D2C is a channel. It's not a business model. And a lot of people treat it as a business model when in fact it's just another channel. And so what we have seen in the e-commerce market, particularly over the last, say, 2 years, is that any manufacturing brand that doesn't at least consider strategic wholesale is probably selling themselves a little bit short in terms of the opportunity, because there are certain markets, there are certain customer cohorts that you will just never be able to get in front of as a D2C brand. They have their favorite stores, they have their favorite
Yes.
retailers, they have their favorite online channels that they buy through, whether it be marketplaces or whatever. And as a result of that, it's just, even if you have a store estate as a D2C store estate, it's very difficult to get in front of every single potential customer without strategic wholesale partners.
Yeah, and they're probably different customers too. I think only 50% of people buy online.
Yep.
And for us, we have an older clientele, so it's probably even more. And we actually have, so yeah, we're trying to be omni-channel. We have 3 retail stores of our own actually right now. So we're testing out that model. That's a really tough way to go. Wholesale, we have reps around the country pushing into specialty men's stores, and we've got reps going into golf stores, like golf and country clubs as well. And then we've got a corporate business. So people that want to logo items and
So for
want
like
blanks.
merch and that sort of thing,
Yeah,
they can
merch.
have it.
Exactly. But yes, it's not just D2C. And I think this past year, or 2024, has been the year of, okay, you can't just rely on meta ads business and acquire customers. You got to find them somewhere else too.
Because it's expensive. That CAC is high and rising, and man, it's expensive to have to constantly go out and acquire new customers solely on your own, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. People are thinking about, my wife's now, she's, oh, look how easy it is to start a company. So she's like starting a little girls dress brand for like tweens. Like my daughter's 11. She's going to various parties and stuff. So she's, I want to go D2C. I'm like, that's great, but it's a lot of work and there's a lot of investment and you don't know if it's going to sell, and you can't just go with one ad because that one's not going to work. You're going to really need 10 of them. And then I'm like, why don't you just go wholesale? Yeah, but yeah, there's a sexiness about D2C
Yes.
and being able to have your own packaging. I'm like, well, you have to get a custom box, then you got to do tissue paper. Then do you really want to be the one fulfilling these orders and all this stuff? I'm like, how about this? We don't know if your thing's going to sell. Why don't you go to some shops? We've got some stores in our area and offer it to them on consignment.
No
They have
risk to them, no
clothes,
risk to you.
they'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say, here's my dresses. Let's see if they sell. And if they sell, great. You'll pay them. If they don't sell, say, I'll come back in 3 weeks and pick them up. No loss, no harm, no foul. And you'll see if they sell. See if the product can sell itself. See if the product can sell before you're really jumping both feet in, especially D2C now, as it's just so much more expensive. And so, yeah, wholesale, I'm like, and I'm telling her the same thing. I said, this is about not your dresses. It's about building relationships with these stores, these kind of like fashiony kid stores, because you're going to have sunglasses you're going to roll out. You're going to want to sell bathing suits. And the gold of this business is not your dresses, it's the relationships you're building with 100 of the top stores around the country. And then you call them up and say, hey, I've got a new pair of pajamas with hearts and whatever on it. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, Marissa, we know you. Great. Yeah, I'll pick it up. Yeah, I'll place an order. That's the business. It's being able to understand that pivot too. I'm sure her dresses are great. Everyone should check one out. It's called Gold Rush. New York City. That was my advice, at least early on. And look, if you're getting a lot of momentum and you're seeing these dresses sell, yeah, give D2C a go.
Yes.
It's worth a shot, but it's going to take time, money, energy, development. Make sure the pixels are in there properly.
Tracking, yeah,
Yeah,
attribution,
it's a
yeah,
lot of
all that.
work. It's a lot of work, and it doesn't usually work on the first go. Like you need multiple iterations and various ads and structure. So, yeah, that was my advice, but I don't know if I'm right. Maybe D2C is the right play for her. I don't know.
I love it. And for Callers and Co., have you considered, or are you already listing your products on like Locally, which is, I don't know if you're aware of Locally, but it's basically an online, it's like an online store locator service, but it's for D2C brands that have retail partners and they want to have effectively a store locator for actual inventory of your products, to where you can, if I'm a customer of yours and I like your products and I want to see, instead of having to go to every retailer's website that carries your products and say, oh, do you have this size in stock? Do you have it in this store, or my region, or whatever it is? I can just go to locally and I can look for that product, and I can see all of your retailers' inventory by location, so that I know I can walk in there and I can buy it right then and there for
A
a special
local,
occasion.
it's an actual physical store you're talking about?
No, it's effectively an online marketplace, but it's an online marketplace of physical retail stores that have your SKU in stock. It's
So it's like
really clever idea.
for all of our wholesale accounts, they should
Yes,
list
yes,
on the Deli site,
correct,
and then they can list all
correct,
their inventory.
correct. And
I
they
see.
list
So
their
then we
inventory by
can
location.
interesting. So
So,
we can
so for
point
example,
customers.
and I've had them on the podcast before, really great guys over at Locally. They're doing some really good work with D2C
Cool.
brands. And they said, so I gave them an example of a situation where I happened to be traveling in California. I needed to get a new laptop. I was having some issues with my laptop, but I was traveling and I was staying in a different place up the California coast each day. And so I didn't want to have to just go to the Best Buy website, for example, and just see which store had this SKU in stock. And then
Mhm.
hopefully by the time I get there, they actually have it. If I wanted a specific make, model, and basically configuration of a laptop, assuming those retailers all had their feeds going to locally, I would be able to go to locally, look for Dell, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then they would tell me all the retail stores that actually had that in stock physically in store.
Wow.
And then
That's
and it's all aggregated in one place. And so they get the
fascinating.
data feeds from all these massive retail chains from across the United States. It's a really amazing service. And then the other thing I was wondering, are you working also through any wholesale fashion marketplaces like Jor, like Fair, like some of these other wholesale marketplaces that get your brand exposed to new boutiques that may not, instead of you having to find all the boutiques across the country that might work for your
Sure.
brand, you can identify them, and almost like a matchmaking service through the marketplace, through a wholesale marketplace, that allows you to get into more doorways than what you would probably be able to do with just boots on the ground.
Yeah, we're on Fair,
Okay.
and we've definitely picked up some accounts from that. I wouldn't say hundreds, but yeah, we get an account every couple of weeks from there of
Yep.
people looking at our stuff. So that is cool. We went to Dallas Market, so in person. That was also a kind of interesting experience I've never done before. We went this past year. We'll go again. But for that, it is like hand to hand combat. You need to get into these wholesale stores, just like my wife's going to have to do. Pick up
Yes.
the phone, figure out when the
Guerrilla
owner's there.
marketing.
Yeah, it's hand to hand combat. It is trench. You're in the trenches. You got to do one at a time. You're lining up each one at a time. So if we're trying to get into 1,000 doors, we're going to make quite a lot of phone calls. But for Dallas Market, we had a booth and brought our stuff and hope people would walk by, and we were aggressive too. People walk by, hey, have you heard of our brand before? We're on Shark Tank. But it worked out. And I think this year we have more reps, we can get appointments, and that's really what it's about, setting appointments ahead of time. But yeah, Fair is a good one. We're not on Jor. I feel like Jor is more internal. Are they externally facing?
Oh no, they're externally facing too. So I've actually had Kristen, the CEO of Jor, on the
Okay.
podcast recently. So you should go and check out that episode. Their whole reason for being is to connect boutique manufactured products like yours, unique, that have a point of view. They're not just a fast fashion product, for example, but they're
Yeah.
products that are for a specific market like yours are, and connecting those with boutiques all around the world that want to curate the brands and the products that they carry for a specific style or a specific cohort of customers that they're targeting. They might
Yeah.
only have one store, they might only have 5 stores, but they're targeting a very specific niche type of customer, and they're trying to find new labels to carry
Yeah, I
that
love it.
supports, that caters to that niche customer.
I
And they're
know
basically,
Greenwood.
Jor is basically a matchmaking service, is basically what it is.
Great. I'll look them up, or if you have a contact.
Yeah, happy to make an
Great.
intro to
Yeah, it's
Kristen.
just like Fair. It's the same business model.
Yeah, very similar, but the difference is Jor is also a full end-to-end wholesale commerce and marketplace platform. If you don't already have your own commerce platform for B2B and for wholesale, they can support you with the technology layer as well. So
Great.
you can either, if you've got already your own wholesale e-com platform, for example, then you can obviously send them a product feed and list it effectively on their marketplace. And
Yeah.
you get to define, it's not only the matchmaking service is so that you as the brand also get to define which types of retail partners you actually want to work with. Okay, cool. We're targeting this. This is our demographic. This is our ICP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the flip side, the boutique does effectively the same thing. So effectively, what they do is they add a whole bunch of supplier or brand attributes to your brand, and then they add a whole bunch of attributes to the buyers, and then effectively they connect those two things together.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, as soon as we're done here, I'll set up a
Reach out to
demo
Kristen and have a
get on
yarn.
with it.
I think you'd enjoy that. Now, that leads me on to the logical next question. As somebody who consults very heavily to the B2B world, so manufacturers and distributors, what are you doing I know you've got your own D2C site on Shopify, but when it comes to your wholesale accounts and selling to those wholesale accounts and transacting with those wholesale accounts, do you have a dedicated wholesale website to manage that, or do you have some sort of technology for that, or how do you manage that today?
We do. We have probably a competitor to like a RepSpark.
Okay.
Familiar with that?
No, never heard of it.
So we have reps, and we basically have an ability for them to log in their own portal, create orders, and submit them in it, and it connects and ties into Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
Connects the inventory levels as well. So yes, we have, I think, something called Apparel Magic, or not.
Okay.
It's called Apparel Magic. So yes, but I always want to see what the newest, latest, and greatest software pieces out there. So look at Drawer and see if that even has the ability. I bet you it has the ability to manage reps in there.
They do that too.
New order is also a similar.
Yeah, New Order is similar, but there's also dedicated standalone B2B focused eComm platforms out there that facilitate self-service e-commerce for instead of having the reps have to do it. Their wholesale customers that are assigned to them can log in, do self-service.
Yeah.
I suspect that especially if you start working with some large-scale retail partners that have many storefronts and maybe a large retail footprint, they may want to integrate with you via EDI or via PunchOut or e-procurement or something like that. So supplying that level of connectivity to them can be really helpful as well, because it can help you land those larger national because they're not going to do manual purchasing through you. They just won't do it. They'll do it through automated. They'll generate the PO dynamically in their ERP, and then they want to send it through to EDI and just let you fulfill it. Lots of opportunity there, I think, but really interesting to hear. So how long so when you first landed that first wholesale account, was it because of an existing D2C customer that said, hey, I like this product and I want to carry this product in my shop? Or was it because you had boots on the ground going and knocking on doors? Or how did you land that first wholesale account?
The first, they probably came to us. They probably saw it. They saw our ad. They were probably a customer.
Maybe saw you on Shark Tank or whatever and said, hey, we'd love to carry this product.
Yeah. So that's how definitely the first couple of customers came in. And then, look, we know the wholesale is a big piece of the business. We've got to get in there. It's hand-to-hand combat. Sure, it would be nice, like, we just launch on Fair and launch on Drawer, and all of a sudden thousands of stores. Yeah, it's probably not. They'll have some incremental lift, but it's mostly you got to hustle it up. You've got to hustle and get into these stores yourself and find the right ones that we think would sell our clothes. But yeah, that's how we got the first one. They came to us and gave us a sense.
And if you were to look at your customer base or your revenues today, what percentage roughly would be D2C that you're selling direct, and roughly how much would be wholesale sales?
It's still D2C.
Wow. That much?
Yeah. I mean, I would say we started, it's been like 1 year since we really had reps.
Okay. So this is a very new, channel for you.
Yeah. But look, wholesale doesn't scale as fast as D2C.
No, it doesn't.
So they're working 6 months out. We're not going to see revenue. They're buying for fall right now.
Exactly.
Or they've probably already bought for fall.
Windows and all that stuff.
They've already bought for fall. We can't sell spring until August, September.
Wow.
Coming up. Yeah, we can. There's definitely some stores that are buying in season, but for the most part, they're buying further out. They've locked up their dollars. They don't have any more, or they might not want to bring something in. So this is a long game. I think wholesale is a long game.
It sure is. And how did you, because as I look back across your history, it doesn't look like you have any experience with clothing design or contract manufacturing, or it just doesn't look like you have any experience in this space. And do you think that it was your naivety that maybe helped to contribute to your success in the first place? Because maybe if you knew how bloody hard it would end up being, maybe you'd have gone, oh, geez, I'm never going to do this. This is way too freaking hard. So did naivety play in your favor to a degree?
I think so too. 100%. I watched how I built this, and they were actually just talking about this on the pod. All the entrepreneurs didn't know anything about the field that they were in. You name it, Uber, DoorDash, like these.
Yes.
He didn't know
Airbnb, all that.
Travis didn't know anything about taxis. He just took a
No.
taxi. Like that was a, he didn't know anything about it, understand anything about the business. There's probably thousands of these things, but yes, I think that helped. And for me, it was like I want to create great products at great value. I think people want. That's it. Let's go and do it. Like it's
L-
not. Yeah, there's some naivety there, but yeah, I'm sure some people would take years and years before the fit is exactly right, and it needs to have the perfect silhouette. Look, we're at version probably 8 or 9 on the polos, but the first ones, I was like, I don't care. I just want to see if the thing can sell.
Yes.
I still think they were great, but they look a lot different now than they did. But I think some people, I guess, if I was probably in the business, they would hem and haw and take 3 years to find this perfect thing, and it's got to be so perfect before you launch it. I think you see a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck because they feel like the product has to be 100% perfect and have all the bells and whistles and have the zipper exactly the way they want it before they're willing to try and see if it can even sell. So kind of getting back to my wife's dress business, I was like, don't get ahead of yourself. Let's see, put it in store. Let's see if it sells.
Yeah.
If it sells, amazing. We'll reiterate. She's like, yeah, but I want to have the sleeve. I'm like, that's not going to prevent somebody from buying it.
No.
That's like an add-on that will make it better, enhance it. But let's just see if the thing sells, and if it does, amazing. If
And
not, no
how
big deal. That's the thing. If you're not, no big deal.
yeah,
Like, people are afraid. They're afraid to hear no. They're afraid to hear it doesn't work.
it
It's
becomes an
okay. Like,
excuse, doesn't it? To me, it becomes an excuse.
yeah,
It's, oh, I've got this great idea, but I've got this great idea, but, and there's 50 buts before they ever put anything out into the market.
I think there's a fear that you don't want to be told that your idea is dumb or it doesn't
Yeah.
work. And like, you got to get. I don't care.
You
You
got to get
just
over that, right?
you're gonna come up. If this idea doesn't work, whoever's out there listening to this, there's 100 more ideas coming down the pipe. There's always an
Yes.
idea around the corner, and you want to give this one a try if you really believe in it and obsessed with it. And then if people don't buy it, no big deal. You'll come up with the next one. So
It's like Gary Vee says when he's in your neck of the woods, being based there in New York. Ideas are shit. Execution is the game, right?
right,
Everybody has ideas. There's a million ideas born a minute, but 99.9% of people just never execute. They're just too
exactly.
afraid. And it's all a little too scary. They've got to get outside their comfort zone. They've got to take a risk. They've got to put their name on the line. They got to be happy being embarrassed occasionally and maybe making the wrong decision. But I think, well, look, the sooner you make some bad decisions, the sooner you can get to the good decision, right? At the end of the day, you got to make some mistakes. You got to have some skin in the
You
game.
only learn when you lose
Yeah.
sometimes,
You
right?
don't
So
really learn when you
you're
win.
gonna you're gonna learn so much. So you go after it, you tried it, and it didn't work. You know what? You've done something 99.999% of people would never even dream about or have the guts to do. And you'll learn from that, and then you'll go on to the next one, and you'll take what you learned from that business and bring it into this one. And so it's fun, but it definitely is you have to have the right kind of person that wants to do that. It's like salesperson. Not everybody wants to make phone calls and cold calls and get shut down and hung up on the phone, but
No question.
it's a good skill.
And for what's next for Callers and Co? What's next for you? I'm guessing that you have seasonal drops. Obviously, I'm guessing you've got some evergreen products that are always there, but then I'm guessing you have some seasonal products. What's next for you? What's next for your companies?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to start anytime soon that's rattling around in your head that's just itching to get out? Or is this, I think I'm going to focus on this for a little while because we need to get this thing humming?
The fun part about this business, and people ask me that too, they're like, oh, you probably have another business idea down that you're thinking about. But with this business, there's always another idea because we're constantly launching new products. So I get to have that dopamine hit
Yes.
and that excitement of, oh, we're going to launch this new blazer. It's like a whole new product. It's all new branding. It's all new marketing. I don't know if it's going to work. So we get to test out and come up with new products all the time. And we actually, through this spring season, we'll be launching 1 or 2 new products every week. So we've got a
Wow.
cool, fun drop every week to be on our email list. So I get that scratch the itch on a weekly basis to see if something new is going to work. So yeah, I think Collars and Co. We're at a point. I think we're there. We're faster on a faster trajectory than say Peter Millar or Johnny O. I think we have a chance to really be a top brand. It's going to take some time, right? It's been around for a long time, those other brands, but we're going pretty fast, and there's been crazier ideas that have worked than this. But yeah, we're excited about it. It's fun.
I love it. I love it. And are you purely domestic in the United States now, or are you planning to go international? Or you already are international?
Yeah, we have some international. We built actually some websites in other languages so
Great.
that
Localized. Yep.
exactly. Yeah, we use localized. So that's Peter Jones's business.
Oh,
He's an
okay.
investor. So
Interesting.
that's yeah. So we're using them, and it's been interesting. Well, I think there's huge opportunity internationally, but we're definitely focus is domestic.
Love it. Love it. And what, are you at all concerned or have you seen any disruption to your business by the likes of Temu, Shein, even Amazon is famous for knocking off other people's products and creating their own version of it. They created their own kind of Allbirds runner shoe with the wool upper and they undercut Allbirds by 50% kind of thing. And they're famous for doing that, unfortunately. Is there any or do you feel that you're so differentiated and that your product is so unique and you built a little bit of a moat around your brand in that you were first to market with this product that you feel like, hey, if people really want our stuff, they got to come to us to get it, or they got to come to our brand to get this thing. And so therefore I'm not too worried about fast fashion and trying to keep up with them and release 1,000 new varieties a week or whatever it is. You'll never keep up with the Sheins and the Temus of the world. So
Right.
why even try?
Yeah, I think so. Look, we're iterating on the product and making it better all the time. So the product's better now than it was 3 months ago, and it was even 6 months ago. We're coming up with new cool patterns and ideas. But I guess we don't get too much caught up in knockoffs. I haven't seen too many people want to do what we're doing. It takes a certain kind of marketing to sell it properly. But I think the percentage of polos have come way down as far as the total gross revenues of the business, showing that people are really buying into the brand, buying into the brand value, our other cool stuff, whether it's our knitwear or cotton and silk polos and pants, and has shown that we're more than just a polo company right now. So it hasn't really been on our radar. We're
Just
still
focus
trying to
on
create
you, do
great
you,
products.
and
And
ignore everybody else. Ignore all the noise.
yeah, the market's giant. It's huge.
Yeah. And do you look at yourself now more as almost like a creative director? Do you consider yourself a designer? Do you consider yourself a fashionista or fashionisto, I guess? Like, where do you feel like you are? Like, where does your strength really? Is it ops? Is it doing deals? Is it doing better sourcing? Is it, where do you feel like in your business today that you are best leveraged, or have you hired, for example, have you hired some designers so that you don't have to do all the design work? You give them some ideas and they run away with it and they do the design, they bring it back to you and they say, do you like this? You go, no, fix this. Or are you literally sitting down and drawing out what you want to put into the world? Is that the focus of your time? Where is your time best spent?
I mean, it's I'm working a million hours all the time. When I'm home, I'm not with the kids or putting them to bed. It's like I have to be on my phone and constantly thinking about Instagram and the design of the brand and the accounting and HR and who we need to hire and graphics. But I think I try and have it really focused on the customer, really customer centric, trying to feel like I am the best suited one to understand what the customer wants. And I speak to a lot of customers. I'll call them. I want to see every time I walk through the airport, I see someone in our stuff, I'll go right up to them. Hey, how did you hear about us? Do you like that? So really getting a sense from a brand standpoint of the customer. What do they want to see? What are their aspirations? What do they want to see aspirationally? I guess like head of brand, but we just don't have that many people that I can just dump
Stuff off
all the
to.
other, yeah, hats off of everything else. I still like creating the P&Ls at the end of the month and doing a million things, but we'll get there.
I love it. I love it. And are you really focused on really the fashion side of the business now? Is that kind of where 95% of your time is going? Or do you have other
It's on
products?
the marketing side. So we have
Okay.
COO, CFO, but definitely
Okay.
the marketing, the brand, ads,
Go to
product,
market,
go to market, product. How are we gonna
channel mix, all that stuff.
exactly? But yeah, I still am involved in all of our Facebook ads and placements and Google and managing that and looking at on a daily basis. And it's pretty nerve wracking and nutty. Like I make sure I only look at my numbers at 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or else it can really make you crazy. Um, but yeah,
Following the
unfortunately,
stock
I'm involved
market
in
for the
this.
entire day, right? It'll drive you nuts.
Yeah, it will. But yeah, we're hiring and we're a lean team, but yeah, getting certain things off our plate. And we hired a partnerships person this year, and I think that will be helpful. We're looking at a head of digital growth, so I can get some of the ideas off my plate. But yeah,
It's exciting times. It's very exciting. Look, this has been a fascinating conversation. I've learned an absolute ton from you in this nearly hour of spending time together. What would be your, let's say someone is out there and they're in the same place you were a few years ago, where they've got this idea rattling around in their head. They think it's a goer. They think it's something that should exist in the world. You've been doing this just with Collars & Co. for over 4 years now, and you feel like you're really just starting to get this traction in the market. You're really starting to create a really strong brand for yourself. You're able to drop new products and get traction on them quickly. That takes time. That takes effort. It takes love. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But for that entrepreneur or wannabe entrepreneur, I guess is what they call it out there, what would be your suggestion in terms of the first 1, 2, 3 steps before they just rush headlong into doing this business thing? What would be your advice to someone who thinks that, I don't necessarily think anybody assumes that it's going to be easy, but I think most people don't necessarily appreciate just how lonely at times the road to entrepreneurship can be. It can feel very lonely. It can feel very stressful. It's definitely not easy, and I don't want to bring the fear porn into it, because I think a lot of people are trying to capitalize on the fear porn of entrepreneurship these days and creating content around it. And so I don't think it's impossible, but I think people need to have a pretty realistic expectation of how fast things are going to get traction, right? Otherwise, if you're not prepared to put in work for a pretty sustained period of time, it's probably going to be really hard to succeed.
yeah. I think one, I guess maybe just two things besides just three. One, create a minimal viable product as fast as you possibly can. It does not need to be perfect. Do not get hung up and build something for a year just so that you can test it in a week and get shut down and people saying this is a terrible idea. So even speak to customers before you even have the product, right? Say, hey, I'm building this thing. Would this be something you'd be interested in? Call potential customers you're going to give it away for free and say, hey, what do you think of this? I'm building this right now. And you may not have anything built. You can say, it's almost done. It's going to do this and this. Does this sound something that you would spend money on? That'd be the first thing. Create a minimal viable product, even a minimal viable idea, and then call customers now, potential customers, see if they'd buy it or see what they think. And then the other thing is sometimes they're like, yeah, we would buy it, and then you have it, and then they don't. But whatever, you'll take that with a grain of salt. That'd be the first thing. And then the second thing is you want to be, at least the successful entrepreneurs I know are obsessed with the business. They're obsessed with it, and they will do whatever it takes to succeed at it. And I think it's like an obsession, probably good or bad, whether I have it or have it. It's great. Marathon runners, Olympic marathon runners train every day, and then it rains outside, and marathon runners don't want to run outside, but they do it anyway.
Yes.
They just do it anyway. Some people are like, fuck, it's raining.
It's cold. It's miserable. I'm going to go do it anyway.
The best runners just have to push through those hard things. It's I want to learn. I got to learn how to connect my domain from Namecheap to Shopify, and what do I have to do, and C names, and I don't understand that. It's like the ones that are going to persevere are going to be like, all right, I'll just watch this YouTube video on how to do this step by
Or
step.
ask ChatGPT, or do whatever they got to do.
Follow it, and it could be completely foreign to them, but it's the ones that kind of have to push through this hard stuff. And if you still feel that in your gut, like, then you keep going and push through, go for it. We talked about it before. Just not much to lose. So whatever, you try it out and see if people are interested in buying it. They say no, it's no big deal. You go into the next
On to the next thing. Who cares?
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. Amazing. Listen, this has been a fabulous conversation. I've really enjoyed it. It's been very insightful, very inspirational. And I think that this shows that grit and hard work can take you places. How important do you think, my last question for you is, how important do you think as of 2025, having a strong personal brand is to the success of your business? I know for me personally, my business would not exist without my personal brand. I had a personal brand. I had been investing in content for a decade before I ever started up my consulting business. I had a big brand on LinkedIn, 33,000 followers, had my podcast with several hundred episodes. I had a big, relatively, considering it's B2B, a relatively big personal brand, relatively well-known in my space before I ever started my consultancy. And that definitely made things a lot easier, because once people knew, okay, he's in this space now, he's offering these services, cool, he's trusted, I know him, when I need these type of services, he's going to be top of mind for me. How important was that, do you think, to you to have a strong personal brand?
Look, for my business, not as niche
Yeah.
as yours. So it probably wasn't as important when you're, if I was going to create some idea on, I don't know, baby products or something. My personal brand is nothing to do with baby product. That doesn't mean I can't start a baby product business.
Yes.
But sure, look, riches are in the niches. So if you guys are thinking of some product out there and it's connected to your personal brand, absolutely, right? You want to become the authority. And if you look on my Instagram now, I've actually been doing a lot of the videos myself from the founder standpoint. So, hey, what are you wearing today? And my daughter will say, "Hey, Dad, what are you wearing today?" And so then it'll be me in the pictures talking about the clothes, or me in
Yes.
the videos. So, yes, I think the founder is really important. I think it's really tough for a founder these days not to be in front of the camera and really
Yeah.
believe in their idea. There's a lot of times you have a founder like, I don't want to be on camera. I'm like,
It's going to be
we're
bloody
kind
hard, isn't it?
of in the wrong decade to
Yeah.
be. Maybe, and that was the truth, right? You could do this in 1990. You don't have to be in front of the camera. You just have some magazine ads.
Yeah.
But now people want to know the behind the scenes. They want to hear about the brand. They want to hear brand story. And it's really important that and it's a great proving ground to see if your product has any value or to
Yes.
test it. So you got to be okay probably in being in front of the camera. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. It would help. It helps.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Listen, now's the chance where, as we come down to the end of our time together, I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you. I get to let you ask me one question, any question you like. It can be personal or professional. So over to you, Mr. Justin BAER from Collars & Co. and many more. What is your question for me today?
God, you're putting me on the spot. Question for you would be, let's see, do you use any time management tools?
No, I am just I use my Google Calendar liberally.
Yeah.
So I do a fair bit of time blocking, and I have all my calendars for 15, 30, 60-minute meetings plus bookings for my podcast. I have that all external facing. So when people need to book time with me, they connect directly to my calendar. They can see it. They know when they got the gaps that they can book things in. So I'm flexible within certain parameters of availability, and that's how I handle it. But what I've learned over the last couple of years that I think is probably more relevant to your question is I used to do, especially when I was building and running agencies, just stupid hours every week, just ridiculous. 80-hour weeks were pretty
Yeah.
normal in that world.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I just turned 50, and what I've learned is I need time, especially as an entrepreneur. I need time to think. And if I don't actually put that in my calendar, like time to go to the gym or time to take my dogs for a walk or time to be creative, if I don't set aside that time in my calendar, it does not happen. It's just that simple. I actually have to block it out in my calendar because I live and die by my calendar, and so does everybody that's trying to get time with me. And so if I just don't plug some time in for me and time for mental and emotional health and creativity and exercise and all those things, it just does not happen. And so that would be my advice for any aspiring entrepreneurs is, man, guard that time ferociously, because most of my best business ideas have been when I'm out in nature or I'm hiking through a forest or I'm out on a motorcycle or I'm out running the dogs or whatever. That's when the creative spark is usually there, or when I'm out walking and I'm listening to a podcast and it creates a spark there. It's not most of my best ideas do not come to me when I'm sitting in front of a computer. They just don't.
Great point. Yep.
And that's where I'm at with time management.
Yeah. No, great advice.
Thank you so much for your time. This was a fantastic conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait to speak to you again soon. If you'd like to get mentored by Jason for free, head over to greenwoodconsulting.net, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click Get Mentored by Jason.